If you're cruising soon, watch this before you pack, because people are getting stopped for stuff they didn't even know was an issue. I'm gonna move fast. We're doing 11 quick rules in a few minutes, and I'll label each one as we go. Banned on the ship, restricted areas, port law, or rumor. Smart glasses that can record. Some ships treat that like a privacy problem. Then there's the "this can't be real" category. An upside down pineapple magnet, those loud clack fans, even homemade food. Things that can get you shut down depending on the line. And stay with me, because later there's one rule that has gotten families denied boarding on long sailings, and another that's totally fine on the ship, but can turn into a legal headache the second you step off in port. All right, let's start with smart glasses. If they can record, cruise lines treat them like a camera, because they are. And the key detail is this: it's usually not banned ship-wide, it's restricted areas. The place people get snagged the most is right around the gangway and screening points, because it feels harmless until staff says, "not here." Different lines handle it differently. MSC is the strictest, with a broader "don't use them in public areas" approach. Others are more targeted, and Royal Caribbean gets very specific. There are certain zones where they don't want them at all, and I'm putting that list on the screen. Wear them in the wrong area, and yes, they can confiscate them. One practical move if yours are prescription: bring a regular backup pair, because "I can't see" is a terrible start to day one. And if that already sounds oddly strict, the next rule gets even weirder, because it's one of those "you thought it was a joke" situations. It comes from a really sweet place, but it can backfire. People want to bring the crew homemade cookies or candy, and the issue is food safety and liability. A lot of the major cruise lines spell this out in their policies. If you bring food on board, it should be pre-packaged and unopened, and homemade or pre-cooked foods usually aren't allowed. So even if it's just a sweet gesture, it can still get stopped. If you want to bring a small thank you, go with factory-sealed, shelf-stable treats, boxed snacks, wrapped candy, stuff that doesn't need refrigeration. It's safer for the crew, and it keeps you out of that awkward checkpoint moment. And speaking of public space rules, next up is less about gifts and more about how you show up in common areas. This catches people off guard because Norwegian has been pretty relaxed, and now they're tightening it up in the restaurants. The quick version is this: in the main dining rooms, they're pushing basic "we're in public" etiquette. Wear shoes, don't show up in a bathrobe, and in some venues, they're also cracking down on super casual stuff like hoodies and tank tops. Then you've got the more upscale, specialty restaurants. That's where you want to play it safe, especially for men. Bring real pants. In some spots, shorts won't fly, and if your jeans are heavily ripped, they might send you back to change before they'll seat you. All right, so that's decorum. Now let's talk pool areas, because that's less about looking nice and more about health code rules. And that's where people get corrected the most. This is what trips families up. Swim diapers aren't leak-proof, so they don't solve the hygiene issue in a pool. That's why many cruise lines won't let kids who aren't toilet trained enter the regular pools and water facilities, even with a swim diaper on. And crews take it seriously. One accident can shut down the pool area, trigger a full cleanup, and suddenly you've got a deck full of irritated passengers wondering why their pool day just vanished. The workaround is using the kid-specific splash areas when the ship has them. On Royal Caribbean, kids who aren't toilet trained are typically limited to designated baby splash zones on certain ships. So plan for that space and save the big pools for when they're fully toilet trained. Not every ship enforces this the exact same way, but here's what keeps people getting corrected. Water shoes are usually fine on the pool deck, but they can be a no-go inside the pool. So if a lifeguard tells you to take them off before you get in, just do it. The reason is simple: hygiene and safety. Shoes bring in grit from the deck, and they can make slips and bumps more likely when the pool's crowded. Keep them for hot surfaces and walking around, then kick them off when you step into the water. And now, remember that rule I teased at the start? The one that's gotten families denied boarding on longer sailings? Let's talk about that next. Quick heads up for families booking longer itineraries. MSC updated their policy, and it's based on trip length. As of the 15th of May 2025, on MSC sailings that are 11 nights or longer, your child has to be at least 2 years old on embarkation day. If you only remember one line from this video, remember this. Check the minimum age before you book, or you could end up rebooking, delaying the trip, or losing the sailing altogether. And MSC isn't alone. On a lot of cruise lines, the basic pattern is 6 months minimum for many itineraries, but it often jumps to 12 months if the route has long stretches at sea, like transatlantic style sailings or 3 consecutive sea days. So before you book, check 2 things: total nights and how many sea days are stacked in a row. Then verify the line's policy for that exact sailing. And once the ship rules make sense, the next surprise is what happens in port, because that's where local laws can turn into real trouble. Vapes usually aren't the thing that gets you in trouble on the ship. The trap is the port. Mexico has been cracking down, and Royal Caribbean even spells it out in their prohibited items info for Mexico. If your itinerary includes Mexican ports, don't bring your vape or e-cigarette off the ship. Leave it in your cabin, don't tuck it in your pocket for later, and definitely don't walk it through the little checkpoint when you go ashore. This is one of those fine on the ship. Totally different rules in port situations. Ship rules won't save you once you've stepped through that gate. That's where people end up dealing with confiscation, fines, or worse. Because now you're under local law, not cruise rules. Use it only where your ship allows it on board, then treat Mexico port days like a hard hands-off, stays on board situation. If your cruise stops in the Bahamas and your teen is picturing themselves driving a jet ski, this is where plans can get adjusted. The Bahamas has tightened the rules around commercial jet ski rentals, and a lot of cruise-run excursions are now treating 18 as the minimum age to operate. So a 16 or 17-year-old might still be able to go, but more often it's as the passenger while an adult drives, depending on the exact tour. The move that saves you the most drama is checking the specific excursion listing you booked, not what someone did last year. Some third-party tours still show 16 inches their descriptions, while cruise line excursions may already reflect the newer standard. And while we're here, age rules don't always stop at too young. Some excursions also have upper age limits or medical restrictions, so older guests can get turned away too. That's why it's worth reading the requirements before you pay, not while you're standing at the dock. Alright, that's a real rule with real consequences. Time to clear up the rumors that keep floating around and stressing people out for no reason. So yeah, no, magnets aren't banned on cruises. Magnet hooks are totally normal, and they're clutch for hanging stuff on those metal cabin walls. Just don't scrape the paint. If you want to keep it looking brand new, stick a little post-it behind the magnet before you slap it on. And don't panic if they randomly won't stick in some spots. On some ships, Royal Caribbean is a common one, you'll hit sections that just aren't magnetic, so it'll slide right off like you did something wrong. By the way, what magnet hooks do you swear by? Drop the brand or link in the comments. Cruise lines usually aren't weighing bags and charging overweight fees like airlines. When you see around 50 pounds, it's more of a safety guideline for the porters who have to handle your luggage. And that viral claim that Carnival charges a $10 fee for overweight bags, that one's simply a made-up rumor. Pack reasonably, mostly because someone's going to lift it. This is where people get confused. Those little non-surge power cubes aren't automatically banned everywhere, but they're also not automatically allowed. On Royal Caribbean, it's a hard no on anything that adds outlets. Extension cords, power strips, multi-plug outlets can get taken at boarding, so the safer move is sticking with a normal USB wall charger and a simple USB charging block. Carnival is basically the opposite. They allow power strips, multi-plug adapters, and extension cords as long as there's no surge protection, and they still reserve the right to hold anything they think looks like a hazard until the end of the cruise. For other lines, don't guess. USB chargers are usually fine, but power strips are the kind of item that varies by policy. If you want zero drama, check your cruise line's page for your sailing and pack something clearly labeled "No Surge Protector." Now, let's move on to something you can absolutely bring on board, but you'll probably regret packing the second a stranger spots it. If you put an upside-down pineapple on your cabin door, don't be shocked if it gets taken down or you get a polite little knock about it. The cruise crew reads that symbol as a coded, adult-style signal, and they're trying to keep the vibe family-friendly. And yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but they enforce it very real, especially the "it's just a joke" stuff, like cabin door decor. So if you love decorating your door, go for it. Just keep it clearly wholesome and impossible to misread. Birthday energy, anniversary energy, first cruise, cute magnets, goofy vacation stuff. Skip symbols or phrases that feel like an inside signal. And this is where it gets more public, because the next one is the kind of thing you can get shut down for immediately, usually in a crowded space. Where you'll get stopped is the indoor nightclub dance floor. On many cruises, the issue isn't fans on the ship. It's that one packed indoor space where people are shoulder to shoulder and those big folding church fans snap open into someone else's face. One wrong swing, somebody gets clipped, and the whole vibe changes instantly. So bring it if you love it, just use it outside on the open deck, or keep it in the cabin when you head to the club. And here's the shift you'll notice with these behavior rules. They're not handled like a policy discussion. A crew member, sometimes even a cabin attendant, will shut it down immediately, zero debate, because they're the ones trying to keep the whole ship running smoothly. You've seen the photos. Ship pulls into port and it looks like a floating apartment building because every balcony has laundry flapping in the wind. Yeah, don't be that balcony. Most lines don't allow it, and your cabin attendant will usually spot it and take it down. Plus, it's a 2-for-1 problem. Wind can send your stuff straight into the ocean, and nothing overboard includes the shirt you didn't mean to lose. If you need to dry things, do it inside the cabin where it can't fly away. And if that rule is basically don't make the ship look messy, the next one is more like don't make people hate you. If the balcony laundry rule is don't make the ship look messy, the pool deck version is don't make everyone quietly hate you. Dropping a towel and a paperback on a lounger and calling it your spot for half the day is exactly what cruise lines are getting stricter about. The trend across a lot of lines is basically this. If a chair sits unattended for too long, crew can tag it, and if nobody comes back, they clear it and move your stuff. The exact timing can vary by ship and sailing, but the direction is pretty obvious. Chair saving is getting less and less tolerated. And I'll say it like this, I don't love every cruise rule, but this one usually helps the most people. Where do you land on it? Stricter enforcement, or is it getting too intense? Tell me in the comments. Alright, that's the list. If one of these rules saves you from getting stopped, fined, or side-eyed on day one, my job here is done. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really helps us keep making more videos like this.